You're watching Less Than Epic's coverage of the Overwatch League. Enjoy the show.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to Less Than Epic's weekly pick series. In this series, we pick a winner and a loser for each match and try to throw in some reasoning behind it. We also keep tabs and will crown a winner at the end of Stage 2. The current score has Ratted in the lead with 10 wins, followed by myself at 8 and Kinky in last with 7. Let's dive into Week 2.
Kicking off Week 2, we have the Dynasty taking on Dallas. Unanimously, we all took Seoul to win this one, but don't be surprised if Dallas can pull an upset this week. Both teams went 2-0 last week, and Seoul had a tough time fighting off a not-so-great Shock team, which could make this game very interesting.
Our second game of the week will be Valiant versus San Francisco Shock. This game was pretty easy to pick for us at LTE, as the Shock has not been playing good in either stage, and Valiant continues to look like a mid to top tier team. Valiant took the last 2 matches and are ahead 7-2 in map wins, so we all picked Valiant to win this one. Soon continues to impress as he is a top 10 tracer in the world right now, and Envy, who rocks the number 1 diva in the world, the number 2 overall player from last week, will be someone to watch. Valiant should continue to stay in the top tier during this stage, but they will have more competition than last stage.
Kicking off our third game of the week, we have the Gladiators versus the Shanghai Dragons. We're all excited to see Shanghai on the up and up, but their map stats aren't looking as great this past week, but we are looking for them to improve and maybe take a couple of maps off the Gladiators. With that being said, the Gladiators, we have all picked them to win this week over Shanghai.
Our fourth match of the week showcases Florida and London. Again, the whole crew has picked London to win this one. I think it's safe to say that we were all impressed by how well London played against New York, especially considering that most people were expecting them to be weaker in Stage 2 because of the changes to Mercy. If London can beat New York, they should have a breeze with Florida.
And on to our fifth match, we will have Houston versus Philly. This match was much harder to pick, and this is the first time this week the crew was split. I picked Houston while the other boys picked Philly. In this game, Philly will have Carpe and EQO probably on the Genji, and fuck did he show up in week 1. But Houston counters with Jake and Linkser, but they also have Cool Matt, who is a top 5 diva player. I really think this game could go either way, and we'll probably go into 5 maps, but I think Houston will pull it out. They showed a ton of emotion and team chemistry in week 1, and I think that will continue. I placed these boys at number 1 this week in the power rankings, and I hope they can prove me right.
Our sixth game of the week is New York versus Boston. I know that Nova is a Boston fan, but we've actually all picked New York to win this game. Boston has shown that they've been struggling in the current meta. Their dive is a fantastic dive comp, don't get me wrong. But they've been saved by the Mercy meta quite a bit if you watch a lot of their old tapes. So they're still trying to find their spot in the new meta, and I don't know if they're going to be able to do that well enough in time for New York. So we're going with New York.
Starting off our day again for the second day in a row, we have Florida squaring off against Boston. For as much as we've praised Florida for their additions and how much better their support play has been since the start of Stage 2, we all still think Boston is going to come away here with the victory. Again, unanimously, we all took Boston over Florida.
In our 8th match and our mid-match on Friday, we will have Los Angeles Gladiators versus Seoul Dynasty. The last 2 times these teams clashed, Seoul came out with a 4-0 victory, and the crew at LTE feels like we are heading for the same sort of result again. We all picked Seoul. However, I do think Seoul has been trending down a little bit lately, but not quite enough to get beaten by LA Gladiators. Look for Seoul to use this as a chance to regain their form from early Stage 1.
In our 9th match of the week, we actually have another split. We've got the Dallas Fuel versus the Los Angeles Valiant, and Kinky and Nova have picked Dallas while I've picked the Valiant. And now this was another game that was tough for me to judge because Dallas they've been on the up, but Valiant has shown that they are very good in the current meta. They seem like Philly to me, that they're going to keep on getting better as they face great teams in the meta, and I think that's going to show in this game, and that's why I picked Valiant.
The reason why I didn't pick Valiant was because they got demolished by Shanghai in the first game, and then they barely were able to beat the Dragons. I know they won 3-0, but that game was a lot closer than that score leads on.
Yeah, I think Dallas has got this too. I do think it'll be a close game, but I can't beat Ratted if I keep picking the same teams as him.
Starting off our last day of the week, we have the Philadelphia Fusion going up against the London Spitfire. This is going to be a very tight matchup and has split our predictions. Even though I am a London fan myself, I am going with Philly here, while Raded and Nova picked London. The last time these two teams played, Philly got steamrolled and lost 0-4, and only were able to get 2 points during the entire game. However, with EQO now on the scene, Philly looks like a completely different team. This could end up being the match of the week.
So this is another very difficult match for me to pick as well. Philadelphia is probably my second favorite team, but London being my first, but I'm not picking London to win because they're my favorite team. London and Philly are both showing that they can play very well in the current meta, and I know that Philly is getting better as a team, but London has been facing off against some of the best teams in the league, and they have been very tight matches. I'm not sure if Philly is going to be ready for it, since their their lineup for games have been a little bit easier than London's. So I'm not quite sure how good they're going to be in the current meta. That's why I had to go with London.
In game number 11, and possibly vying for that top match of the week spot, we have Houston versus New York. The top dogs currently in the league are going to face off. This should be an epic showdown. Less Than Epic is split here, with Kinky and I going Houston, and Ratted going New York. What happened last time these two teams played? Well, we only have one game in the history, and it went 3-1 in favor of New York. However, this Houston team is a much different team, one that clawed their way to third place in the Mercy meta, and now dominates in the non-Mercy meta. I think this game will take 5 maps. What are your thoughts, Rad?
So, yet another, I think this is the third or fourth extremely difficult match to call this week. It's going to be an extremely good week. I had to go with New York just because of all the teams looking really good in the Mercy meta. There's no doubt in my mind that New York looks the best. They're a force. They're a beast to be reckoned with. So is Houston, but I think New York just has their shit together a little bit better than Houston does, so I'm calling New York on this one.
The reason why I couldn't pick New York on this one, and again, it is a very close matchup, but the reason why I couldn't is that 3-1 victory for New York was all the way back in Stage 1, Week 1. Houston is a completely different team, no disregarding the meta. They are playing completely different between now and then. And that's why I had to pick them over New York, because they've evolved more, and I feel like they can overcome more at this point than New York can.
Our last game of the week is the Shanghai Dragons versus the San Francisco Shock, and we're actually not unanimous on this one, funny enough. I kind of wanted to pick the Shanghai Dragons, but I went with the San Francisco Shock, as did Nova, but Kinky went with Shanghai. These two teams are actually on the bottom end of our power rankings and probably most people's power rankings. They're teams that have definitely struggled in all of the metas. So it's probably going to be a close game because of that. So I'm actually really looking forward to this. I do think of all the games that Shanghai has had up to this point, this is their best chance to secure their first win. And I know everybody is going to jump for joy when they do, or if they do, I should say, because, well, I'm picking San Francisco. Kinky, why don't you give us your thoughts on why you're picking Shanghai?
So Shanghai has been looking stronger and stronger every week. Ever since they lost to Florida, the Dragons have started to build on their, not necessarily momentum, but they've been able to improve in their gameplay week in and week out. And then we saw a huge jump between Stage 1 and Stage 2. And does it have to do with the Mercy meta? Does it have to do with the players that they now have that are eligible to play? I think it's a combination of both, but I think that Shanghai is going to continue to build whatever little momentum they have, and I actually feel like they have a good chance to win this week because I haven't seen the Shock do anything lately. They didn't play any better because of the Mercy changes. and Shanghai did. So I feel like Shanghai has a better chance than, well, obviously it's a better chance than what they would have had in stage 1. And at the same time, I also got to catch up to you guys. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dia and Undead have definitely shown some massive improvements on that team. And you're right, they are definitely looking better with the Mercy meta. And with that, we can call it for our weekly picks for week 2. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. We will be back next week at the same exact time with our picks for week 3. Once again, thanks for watching, everyone. And this is Radical Edwards signing out.
See you in the next one, guys.
If you like our coverage of the Overwatch League, let us know by liking and subscribing. And if you didn't, let us know why in the comments below. Maybe we can make it better. Thanks for watching, everyone.